Nigeria's Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Wike, has said the ongoing political crisis in Rivers State is not an ethnic war and warned politicians not to pull the ladder they used in ascending to their enviable positions. This is, as he said, doing about his political team in the state will not allow anyone to drag it down. Now, the immediate past governor of Rivers State stated these on Sunday while addressing traditional rulers in Ogba land who visited him at his Port Harcourt residence. And of course, Godswill Jumbo, Chief Press Secretary to former Rivers State Deputy Governor, joins me to discuss the political impasse happening in Rivers State. Thank you so much for your time. Godswill.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine joining you this evening again.
All right, great. Now, I would just start off this particular segment of the show with a quote or one of the things that the former governor of Rivers State, now the minister of the FCT, said. In his words, he said, "An Oba will always obey the rules." So also in politics, there are things you must not do, and there are things that you must do. Do not pull the ladder that you used in climbing. When you are coming down, the ladder may not be there. Also leave the ladder so that other people can also climb this particular ladder. Now, what do you think the former governor was actually trying to illustrate here?
First of all, let me say that it's interesting that is coming from him. For me, I think he said something desirable and also something undesirable. As a former governor of the state, as a father, as a mentor, as a political leader, saying that the political crisis in Rivers State is not an ethnic war and nobody should make it one, and all those other talks. That fits into the narrative that we are advancing, that the political leaders of Rivers State should be able to intervene. Him in particular, Wike, being the corridor through which Sim Fubara became governor and all those young guys at the Rivers State House of Assembly, we expected him to play a leadership role, exude that father figure, how will I put it now, aura, and try to call his voice to order. So if he's saying that that's desirable, but turning around and saying that, no, you don't pull down the ladder that through which you climbed up. What if I want to change the ladder? What if I want to get a better ladder? What if that ladder is faulty? What if that ladder is broken? What if I want to get a new one, a better one? What if that ladder does not even serve the purpose again? Maybe the building has been modified after I used it, and I need to do another ladder that matches the remodeled building. We need to look at that. And for him, offering that kind of advice is fine, but maybe we should ask, talking about ladder, where is Senator John Mbata? Where is Rotimi Chibika Mechi? Where is Goodluck Ebele Jonathan? Where is Patience Jonathan? Talking about ladder. Let him tell us where those ladders are. Maybe that will help us understand better what he's talking about. Talking about ladder that takes you to where you are and why you should not, ditch the ladder. I think everyone reserves the right to make the best of opportunities they get.
I mean,
everyone reserves the right. If I use a road,
okay,
and I find that that road does not serve the purpose currently, don't I reserve the right to redo that road?
Okay, but I also think that maybe in this context, is also trying to talk about loyalty in politics. I mean, he's made reference countless times to the structure, laid down, and the fact that that structure, which of course serves as some sort of maybe to him, a blueprint should be respected. I'd like to know what exactly your take is on this particular structure, political structure, the former governor has made reference to.
Fine, on a good day, if you look at that, every political emergence, every political dispensation is defined by the political structure through which somebody emerges, you know. So if through the activities of a structure, the way a structure performs, and you emerge, you know, occupy a public office or whatever, you understand? You stay with that structure, you make it better, you build it, you refine it, you beautify it, you strengthen it, you consolidate on it, and all of that. But let's also look at a situation where that structure, you have no control over it. That structure has become, you know, inimical to even your survival, not even your progress. Are you going to retain that structure? You know, a situation where as a sitting governor, a local government chairman will come and collect your phone and ask you why you are pressing your phone when the master is speaking. A situation where you say you want to pay pensioners and somebody is saying, no, you cannot pay those pensioners. It's a waste of money. Who decides what is a waste of money? Is it the sitting governor or somebody else? You decide to reactivate the economic stimulants of your states, and somebody is saying, no, you can't do that, that you want to, you know, activate or highlight the legacies of my political opponents. How does that play out as per structure? You know, where you have a crowd around you that they are not connected to what you want to do. They are connected to somebody somewhere who dictates for you what to do, how to do it, where to go, who comes to see you, and all of that.
Sorry, I'm sorry to cut in here. Are these actual scenarios you're painting, or they are just for illustrative purposes?
Okay, we are talking about realities. The whole thing, it got to a point where the governor, you know, offered to resign. Instead of being treated like a small boy, you know, treated like a house boy and things like that, he offered to resign. And then some people say, no, stick in there, would sort all of this out. And things were degenerating, you know, until it got to the point where there was a blowout, you know, with impeachment attempts. So these are the kind of things we look at. Are these manifestations of a good structure, if we want to talk politically? And then let's even ask the person talking about the structure, what structure is he referring to? What structure brought him to power? What structure brought him to power? We are in Rivers State. What is the structure that brought him to power? What did he do with that structure? So talking about structure, talking about ladder, you know, let him who comes to equity come with a clean hand. You don't throw stones at it when you are living in a glass house. If you want us to take you seriously, you model what you're saying. Is he a model of the advice he's giving? Has he modeled it at all in any way? People worked, people coalesced, people mustered resources, people, you know, deployed networks, contacts to get him to power. What has he done with that structure? What has he done with that ladder? So we appreciate his advice. Rivers people appreciate his advice. As governor of Rivers State, the people of Rivers State view him as a father, as a leader, as a mentor, as a role model, and all of that. But the demands of leadership, the responsibilities that come with leadership also play out. So you don't just give an advice that you yourself, we don't see you, you know, pandering to that advice. If you want me to respect the ladder that brought me, that ladder should be good enough for others to climb. Am I the only one using the ladder? So if other people are saying what you think about that ladder is what we also think, should we retain that ladder? The ladder has become problematic. The ladder has become faulty, defective. It has to be changed. And talking about structure, okay. The Rivers State structure is the structure of the people. It's not the structure of a single politician. That structure brought Rufus Adegboye. That structure brought Peter Odili. That structure brought Rotimi Amechi. That structure brought even Omehia during the interregnum. That structure brought him, Nyesom Wike. That structure has also brought Sim Fubara. So it is not unique to anybody. You understand? So the structure is Rivers people who want a good leadership, who want good governance, who want the dividends of democracy. That is the structure. Nobody owns that structure, and nobody should lay claim to it.
Okay, now talking about the influence of the former governor, I mean, in recent times, it's simply, it shows to a very large extent that his influence still holds so much of ground. We saw the defection of the state lawmakers, about 27 of them, and also the resignation of some commissioners. I mean, isn't it looking at all of these factors, wouldn't you also want to say that to some extent, maybe that structure, might just be there to stay for some time?
And no doubt about that. No doubt about that. Rufus Adegboye and Odili, the structure is still there. Odili still respects Rufus Adegboye. Rotimi Amechi still respects Peter Odili. But does Nyesom Wike respect Rotimi Amechi? Does he respect him? Does he respect Goodluck Ebele Jonathan? Does he respect Patience Jonathan? So, fine, people have to be loyal. There are people who are still loyal to Rufus Adegboye. There are people who are still loyal to Peter Odili. There are people who are still loyal to Rotimi Amechi. There will be people who will remain loyal to Nyesom Wike for life, forever, because they didn't have it. And through his own instrumentality, they have it. It's just like myself. I was just a journalist, just working, living my normal life as, a staff of the media, of the press unit of the government house. And then His Excellency Tele Ekuru one day decided that he's going to appoint a new press secretary. And he said it was me. And, asked the PAMSEC to, issue me a letter of appointment. I remain grateful to him for life. You understand? So that cannot change. So there are people who, they didn't have it, but through the instrumentality of Nyesom Wike, they now have it. They will have appointments as commissioners, as SAs, as one thing or the other, heads of MDAs, They will remain loyal, they will remain grateful. All of us have those people we refer to as, instruments in the hands of God, our divine helpers, who through them we were able to get to where we are today and all of that. So those are personalized structure, but let's not confuse it with the general structure. There is the general structure, which is the Rivers people who decide who is their governor and who is not going to be their governor. Let's not confuse it. You may have a few persons that you give money, you help to get appointments, help to get jobs and things like that. That is your personal structure. But don't mix it up. Don't mix it up at all.
All right. Now,
talking about the resignations. The resignations are outcomes of, crisis of, interest. Some of these guys are personal friends to Siminala Ifubara, and then they are caught in the middle of situations where their loyalty to a political leader and their loyalty to a friend, came clashing. And what is the reasonable path to take? Is to exit the environment. Somebody like Professor Adegboye, he is an erudite scholar, a celebrated, academic. Do we expect him to remain in this kind of environment? He will step out. He has a reputation to protect beyond politics, so he will step out of the environment. Somebody like, my senior friend, Chief Emeka Woke, he is loyal to Nyesom Wike. He has been with him since Nyesom Wike was the chief of staff, the first tenure of Rotimi Amechi, and then now he's caught in a situation where his junior friend, his younger friend, Siminala Ifubara, is being, put in a situation that is awkward. Is he going to stay in that kind of environment? Obviously, no. Reasonability, will play out. So a lot of them who are resigning are not just resigning because of their loyalties to Nyesom Wike, they are resigning because they have a conscience. You know, they are smart, they are intelligent, they are wise men, they have seen politics back and forth. So they will have to. There are people who actually resign because, you know, maybe one way or the other, maybe their political leader, you know, was not comfortable about them being around an environment that was no longer advantageous to him. We understand that. But there are people who their reputation, their conscience,
Okay.
their dignity, you know, everything comes into play.
Okay. I mean, I just want us to advance a bit.
The moral high ground.
Great. Now, I want us to advance a bit. Now, let's look at all of this political impasse happening in Rivers State and the fact that the former governor, who is, of course, you know, in the eye of the storm with the current governor in all of this, came to the state. And we are beginning to see elder statesmen, top political figures in the state trying to sort of mediate in all of this. Do you see a situation whereby some sort of solution, peaceful resolution, happens anytime soon?
Okay, if we want to, I think the answer is a yes and a no. You know, it's a yes. If the man we call Nyerishi, our political leader in Rivers State, if he will be any other thing apart from who he is, there will be very speedy resolution of all of this drama. Very speedy resolution. Take, for example, when Amechi became governor, he set up the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and he put his political godfather in the dock to answer questions to the security crisis in Rivers State. And everybody was like, hello, what are you doing? This is your father. You can't do this. You know, and then it boiled over, and then people talked to sad Dr. Peter Odili, and please, he's a boy, he's growing up, please ignore, and all of that. And the man never said anything till today, on record. He never said anything about what his boy did. And Amechi too, when the elders talked to him, you know, he reined in himself. You know, in fact, till today, you know, the outcome of that commission, nothing was made of it, you know, because of the issues around it. Now, this is where reasonability comes into play, where something has happened and somebody talks to A, he kotos. Somebody talks to B, he restrains himself, and everywhere is calm. For the interest, for the larger overarching interest of the states. You understand? Now, look at this one now. Are we likely to see Wike to like, okay, call him and say, well, it's fine, you know, one or two things happen, but you're still my son, let's all of that go by. Do we see that happening? That's not going to happen. Except, you know, like, you know, the term in quotes, born again. Except our former governor will become born again, you know. Let's see his normal self. This is going to play out for a long time. And any attempt he has, you know, to undo the governor, to make him feel the pain of whatever he has caused him, is going to make him, you know, feel that the restraint he's serving now is that his job is tied to it. As the minister of the FCT, he knows the federal government is looking at him. He knows all the security law enforcement agencies are looking at him. The structure, the team, the inner caucus, the kitchen cabinet of the president, they are watching him very closely. So he's watching the things he says, he's watching the things he does. But if that restraint was not there, we know by now Rivers State will be up in flames. We know, imagine what he did to the man who made him chief of staff. The man who took him by the hand to Dr. Peter Odili and said, please, let's allow bygones to be bygones. Let him go back to, you know, being the local government chairman of Obiakpo for the second tenure. Look at the amount of bile that is in the public space against that man. That man personally nominated him to be minister. Goodluck Jonathan came to commission. He invited him. Mr. Wike invited Goodluck Jonathan, the president then, you know, to come and commission the Mpogu Bridge in front of NLNG at, you know, the Eastern Bypass axis of Port Harcourt, right there in the public. President Goodluck Jonathan said it, that he never knew news on Wike from Jack. That it was Amechi that recommended him. Openly, he said it. That he doesn't know. So imagine what has happened in this short period, 8 years thereabouts. Look at the amount of bile, the amount of, vindictive, abrasive, narratives that have been shown out against that man. You understand? So this is who we are dealing with. So now he has a song that is not kowtowing to him, that is not flowing the way he wants him to flow. Are we expecting any resolution? I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening.
All right.
And people who know him are also guiding the governor and telling him that you don't lower your flanks, you don't lose guard, you don't forget yourself. This man will hit you back heavily if you create any opportunity. So that is why you see the governor too, he's not saying anything. He's just taking actions, to consolidate his hold on power, to secure himself. So I do not personally, having watched from the sidelines, what has been happening, I do not see a resolution of all of these problems soonest. I don't see that happening.
All right, let's talk about the 27 defected lawmakers. What will be their or what do you see as their political fate in Rivers State?
Well, first of all, if we are going to go by the laws of Nigeria, as we know it, and especially with clear pronouncements by the apex court of Nigeria, they've lost their seats. They can run around different courts, getting injunctions and all of that, getting injunction here and whatever, sitting at the back of somebody's house and all of that. They can do all of that, but they've lost their seats. In the eye of the law, they are no more lawmakers. It's clear. And the Supreme Court is very clear about that, So talking about their political future, well, they are loyal to the former governor, the FCT minister. I'm sure he will create spaces for them around the federal space, since within the state, the structure has been overtaken by events. So I'm sure he will create. But one thing is going to happen for sure. Just like the two lawmakers who did an about face, who did a turnaround that they are not defecting. When their people from Okrika called and said, what are you doing? And then they took exception and said, no, they are not part of that defection. More are going to happen, because when people place their political aspirations in the pendulum, they will do the right analysis, and they will muster, at some point, they will muster the courage to step out and say, no, I can't be part of this. Either they will step out of the political space, or they will step back into the Fubara space, or they will leave the country and just go abroad and stay somewhere and forget about all of this drama. That's what the number is going to withdraw. The number is going to reduce with time. Some people are going to turn around and come back and know they will look at the interests of their people, they will look at the interests of Rivers State, they will look at their friendship with the governor, they will look at so many factors, and then that number is going to reduce, because the realities will kick in very soon. The reality of them having lost their seats in the eyes of the law, it will kick in.
All right, Godswill, because we're pressed with time, I need to ask you. Okay. Because we pressed with time, I need to ask you this. I'm sorry to interrupt that way, but what is your take when it comes to what you see happening in the coming weeks, vis-a-vis the governor himself? We are beginning to see his cabinet shrink, in terms of resignations and all of that, and also the fate of Rivers people, because right now it seems like the attention of the governor is divided between his face-off with the former governor and also being the governor of the state, delivering the dividends of democracy. In the coming days, what do you see panning out, and how do you see also the fate of the governor, being governor of the state, in spite of all of this crisis happening?
Okay, the consideration of the distraction from whatever is happening between him and his SY political godfather, I think is secondary, and he's making that clear. the priority is to deliver on the promises he has made to Rivers people, to deliver governance and all of that. As per the resignations, they are of no moment. You step out of a government when millions of people are ready to step in. A lot of Rivers people with the right skill sets, with the right professional competence, with the right exposure, with the right worldview, the right interest for the development of Rivers State are lined up there, who, from within and outside Nigeria indicating interest that, look, they want to serve. Call me, I want to do. Some of them want to even serve without being paid. And they are lined up. So the governor will fill up those spaces, constitute a proper cabinet of 32 commissioners, and then move on. And already he's doing that. He's gotten his budget passed. He has commissioned, flagged off a 20,000 housing units project, and then several other things are lined up. In the coming days, you are going to see him going to different local governments and probably flagging up projects or commissioning projects. That is going to happen. The only challenge he has now is just the Supreme Court, whatever the Supreme Court will decide. But we know that the appellate court, the appeal court and the Supreme Court, they will always put primary consideration to the stability of the polity. And that is what they've done right from the presidential election down. If you look at the merits of the judgment, maybe you may disagree with them, on what their decisions were. But for us, who watch the political space from the sidelines, we're not interested, we're not involved, we don't have anything to lose or gain. Our own is making sure things are rightly done and all of that. And whatever effort we can put in, especially those of us from the media community, we are making sure. So now, from our own analysis, the Supreme Court will look at all of that. So we know people want to try to influence them, induce them, and all of that. But at the end of the day, they'll look at what will be the most, the perfect route to follow, to ensure entrenched stability in the polity. They are going to do that. But as for the governor, he has defined his trajectory, and he's going to follow that path to make sure that the Rivers people do not lose out in the middle of this conundrum. That's what I think.
All right, Godswill Jumbo, Chief Press Secretary to former Rivers State Deputy Governor. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right.